Whew. We are late night tonight. Having a little bit hard time for me sleeping, and I figured I could get you guys some content. We've been doing quite a bit of different things over the last couple days. Haven't been able to get all the things done in the shop, but figured I would do a late night OnlyFans edition. And in this edition, we are going to be actually going over some new additions to the shop. Now, I love me some new tools, even if they're new to me, especially obviously if they're brand new. But sometimes older's more experienced, right? Well, in this late night edition of OnlyFans, we're going to go over some older tools. One that's actually able to drink, the other probably go for an AARP card. So, anyways, sit back, enjoy the live, crack yourself your favorite beverage if you're still up, and welcome to OnlyGrains. All right, I'm going to check and make sure my audio is working. It shows my mic's hooked up, but I don't know if it's actually popping through well for you guys. All right, I'm going to check and make sure my audio is working. It shows my mic's hooked up. All right. We are up and we are rolling. I just saw you guys are joining. Got about 9 of you out there watching, and welcome to OnlyGrains Late Night Edition. I am Fox with Fox and Kit Woodworks, and tonight we are going to be going over some new tools and additions to the shop that are actually quite old. Let me go ahead and turn this audio background down. And if you're a woodworker, a DIYer, buying brand new tools is a great thing. It feels so nice to get some of those new tools in your shop. But let's just face it, times right now are kind of tight. Sometimes it might be a better option to go look for some of those used tools. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to my new baby cabinet saw. So it's right back here. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get it in a better frame. Stop that right there. And this is the Craftsman Professional baby hybrid cabinet saw. Now, this thing is actually old enough to drink. It is about 21 years old. It has a 1.5 horsepower motor, and I can tell you though, as you can see, it is in some really good condition. I'm going to go ahead and get you some close-ups on this thing and go over what it actually has. And if you guys got any comments, questions, go ahead and throw it in the comments. I got my other screen up here so I can kind of see what goes on in it. But here we go. So here is your up close and personal view of the Craftsman 21-year-old baby hybrid cabinet saw. So, features. Well, quite a few. One, full cast iron table from left to right. I believe we're measuring at about 36 inches on this thing. Let's just go ahead and pull out the tape measure out of our pocket. Not that we use that to measure other things. We're actually looking at 44 inches of solid cast iron there. We also have a Rockler router table attachment with fence support. Its little end cap there, which is actually really great to have on. And currently I have a Skill router put in there. I might be changing that out to something else. We're still trying to figure it all out. I'm going to be making some adjustments here. But the point being, and this is kind of the topic at hand, see if it can get me back in camera. Why choose a table saw that's 21 years old? These came out in 2004, and let's just say were made really high quality. Craftsman was starting to lose their game at that time, and let's just say they weren't putting out the best tools all the time, and you had to kind of pick and choose. But this was one of them that we were trying to get back in the game on. And let's face it, they did an astounding job of this. We have good solid steel down here. I only know that because a magnet will attach to it. Steel frame, you know, steel cabinet. We put our own little rollers on it. Cast iron top. Solid construction. It's going to last a lifetime for me and whoever else wants to get it next. But why? Well, nowadays lots of things are made out of plastic. They're not designed to be remade, you know, fixed up. They're kind of throwaway. And when you're making an investment like something like this, whether you're a DIYer or a small business, well, it's quite a bit of money, especially when times are kind of tough right now. This guy right here, and I know it's going to sound a lot for 21 years old, was 600 bucks. Conversely, though, you go out and try to find yourself a new Grizzly hybrid. They do have a little bit bigger motor at 1.75 or 2 horsepower. You're looking at $11, $12, $13, $1,400 plus freight shipping, all the way up to $2,000 or more. This guy at $600 in the condition he was in, and luckily I did get to talk to the previous owner and find out a little more information on it, and that it was owned by an older gentleman that didn't use it too much, and unfortunately he passed away and his daughter sold it, and luckily for us, we're going to be able to continue on its traditions of cutting wood and doing woodworking like that old man probably wanted. So we have gone through and we have cleaned up the cast iron top. I actually went through and scrubbed it all down, used some Brillo pads, some 3M penetrating oil, because, you know, when you're doing any type of work, a little bit of lube goes a long way. But anyways, got it all shined up, put a nice wax on it so it's nice and smooth gliding for the wood. But the big point here I'm trying to bring out is, if you're a DIYer, go on that Facebook, go on that Nextdoor, check out eBay, look for these used tools. Look for good, solid, old tools that are made out of metal, high quality, things that you can repair. They don't sell the parts for this anymore because Sears has gone out of business, but guess what? I can find the belts from a different company. I can put a different motor in here and hook it up and make it run. It's not like the new stuff where when it breaks, it's broken and you ain't doing anything about it. So, as I was saying, go out, look for those older tools, see what you can do with them. This thing here runs smooth, solid. It's going to last me a long time. It's way more accurate than my last saw. But I do have one more special one for you guys tonight. And that is a new addition to the Fox & Kit, well, garage shop. And that is a radial arm saw. So let me go ahead and pull you over here. And if we look this way, and I'll try to get the lighting better for you guys so you can see it. We just picked up this old school radial arm saw. Now, I haven't done much research on this one yet. I do know it's a Craftsman. I do know it's an older model. It is cast iron and steel. So we're talking higher quality compared to most today's ones. And a lot of people don't see these that often. And that is because the radial arm saw has kind of become obsolete. We are now using typically crosscut miters, or excuse me, not crosscut, compound sliding miters and things of that nature. There we go. That's a little bit better. Got you a little more lighting on that. Because that's the industry standard. This, back in the day when it started, this was your miter saw. Now, you might be thinking, kind of seems weird. It's, you know, it doesn't go up and down. Well, that's right. It does not go up and down. You can raise and lower the blade to adjust different types of cuts, to maybe cut tenons and things like that. But it's not like our old, you know, chop saws where you're just going like this. This actually slides back and forth, is adjustable for your miters, or unlock that fully, right and left. And what you can see here compared to some of the newer miters that we have out today, it's really tight. It's really fitting, you know, for accuracy. It's not all loose. You know, you lock them down on the new miters, they still sometimes feel like they have some slop, or that you know, a little knock here or there might just send it out of keel and it won't be able to keep its squareness or your angle. You also can adjust the blade pivoting to do bevel cuts. And like I said, the biggest thing on this is that you can also set the height adjustments to cut tenons. And basically what tenons are, I don't have any pieces of wood near me, so we'll use this Nerf dart instead. Let's say this is a piece of wood, and you want to be able to put it into something like a chair. Well, you might want to cut a tenon on it. And basically what that you're doing on the male side of the tenon is cutting off a little bit of wood on all sides so you have a square or a rectangle that will fit into a slot, just like so, and be basically friction held in place, or add a little glue to make it even better. But why this? I have a compound sliding miter. Well, for one, the accuracy on this, I think is going to be more accurate than that miter over time. Number two, I can set this up with a bunch of stop blocks and make it so it's repeatable cuts and be able to basically turn myself into a little factory, being able to batch out different items. 3, the ability to make the tenons. New compound miters do actually have the ability to stop short of going all the way through something and making the cuts, but this just feels more accurate, and quite honestly, it just feels good. Nice, solid, heavy metal, built to last. I can work on it. It's going to need a little cleanup, and that was one of the things I was going to do tonight with you guys, is show you how to clean it up, and I might still do a little bit of that for you, because it does need a little wipe down and clean up and taking a little bit of rust and corrosion off. But I just think it's a great shop addition, and I don't like losing these types of tools to the test of time, or we'll say the graveyard or the scrapyard county dump. So let me go ahead and bring you back over this way. And I will step out in front of the table saw again. Now again, I really do thank you guys all joining me late night tonight. And if you are watching, if you're on that TV, if you can, please hit that like button so I know. I'm still trying to figure out how many people are on the TV these days versus tablet or whatnot. And if you do get a chance and feel so kind, hit that subscribe button. We are trying to hit 500 subscribers before the beginning of next year, and we are well on our way to the road to that. We are sitting at 274 currently, and I would love to see if we could get some going tonight and try to bump that number up, maybe even closer to 300. But as I was saying, older tools, why are they so great? Well, test of time. They're still working and running after 50 years of sitting out in some garage. They're probably going to just need a little bit of grease, maybe a few new belts, and they're going to keep going. And they're going to last you a really long time. You can't beat things that are made out of solid cast iron, steel, as long as you take care of them. And even if you don't, you can sand them down, make them nice and smooth and polished, get that rust out of them, and get them right back into running. I'm going to go ahead and take a drink real quick. And if you have a drink, go ahead and drop it in the comment what you're having tonight. And cheers to you all. Oh, that's good. So anyways, I have right here, as you can see, in fact, I'll show you real quick as I move the camera. Let's see if it'll go with me. Yes, it is. I even have an old Craftsman 12-inch bandsaw that I've been doing a little work on and getting all running again for my resawing. And again, it's a combination of, will it do the job, and how much does it cost? New bandsaws, even 12-inch, $400-$500. You start looking at some of the bigger ones, $600, $700, $800, $1,000. This one I got from a neighbor, kind of on a barter deal. I put $150 into it, putting some new attachments on it so it'll run a little bit better. Bought some new wheels for it, or I should say the rubber wheels for it, so it can run a little smoother, a little quieter. That's it. I just got to take care of it and maintain it. And really, you should maintain all your tools. But these older tools, they just last and last and last, as long as you do your research. So what I would tell you all to do, especially if you're a woodworker or trying to get into woodworking or a DIYer, go out there, jump on some forums, watch some videos, see what's available on Facebook first and foremost, and do your research on it. You will find quite a few hidden gems out there. And I don't like to, we'll say, benefit from other people's losses, but unfortunately, it is a fact of life. Everyone dies. We have gone through our fair share of it over the last year and a half with losing 4 close family members and friends, well, 3 close family members and friends in the last year and a half. And due to that, though, we do sell their items and we get rid of them. We keep some of them. Go to those estate sales. Go find that person that knew that their loved one was into woodworking. And if you are really into woodworking, tell them, I would love to purchase this from you so it can continue doing what your loved one did. And you'll see it goes a long way. And you'll have a better connection with your tools. I still see a bunch of you are on there. If you do get a chance, please drop a comment in there so I know that you're following along, or maybe a question for me. This is driven by you guys when it comes to the Q&A. We've had some really fun sessions where people have talked back and forth and been able to answer some questions or give their own insights. And really, honestly, tell me, what kind of tools do you got in your shop? What's your newest tool? What's your oldest tool? I actually have a tool, and I'll go try to find it here in a second, that's actually 100 years old. And I'll come and show it to you guys. Just stand by while I look for it, because we've been doing a lot in the shop adjusting things, so it has been moved several different times, and it now has a new location. And I just can't quite remember where it went to. And probably what I should have done is been prepared for it and had it already set out for this one, but this was kind of a spur of the moment thing. Ah, there it is. Okay, not a big fancy tool. Not a tool that most people are probably use that much. We got plenty of things that do this already. But it's an old school angle finder. This is a old school, let me take a look here. God, I found the name of it once on it. Now I can't find it. Angle finder. We'll just call it an angle finder. Basically what this thing does is has a little locking lever. You unlock it, pull it out, and now you have your blade. This is 45 degrees, so you can always find a 45-degree mark. The tip could be used as a marking edge, though I probably wouldn't do that. Don't want to dull it and mess it up for your 45 marks. But what really this was used for was before you actually had an actual protractor or angle finder to be able to set up the degree exactly, but you're trying to copy something. So for instance, let's say I was trying to copy this chair, and I needed to figure out what angle to drill the holes to put these legs in. What I would do is come over here, take this, set it into place, make sure I got the nut set up right, and then lock it down. And now I know it's not 90 degrees, it's a little off 90, what I need to drill my holes at. And I could come over to my piece of wood, set it up to it, make my mark, take my drill bit, start my hole, and drill in at the same angle. So where it doesn't actually tell you the angle it's at, it's allowing you to copy an item that's already been made, or set one up and then work your way around and get the whole thing dialed in so it's all the same. As I flip it around 5 times trying to get it to set back into place. So on this guy here, I actually went through and I looked it up, and let's see here if I have a flashlight. I do. Look at that. And I looked it up, and on the brass markings here, they actually have a name and basically some symbols that were allowed me to be able to figure out exactly where this came from. Unfortunately, this light's a little too bright. Where did it go? Well, I can't find it tonight. I'm sorry. I basically looked it up, figured out it was manufactured sometime between 1903 and I believe it was 1921. This is a 100-year-old tool, and it still can be used today. And that's what I'm saying with some of these older tools. They are built to last and made to last the test of times. So go out there, start doing some of your own searching, try to find out something that you're looking for. Give it a shot. Worst case scenario, you turn around, you sell it for maybe 75% of what you bought it for. You lose a little bit on it, but you'll learn something out of it. So now I'm going to throw it out to you guys. I've been sitting up here talking my own ear off. what would you guys like to talk about tonight? Is there anything that you see in the shop that you'd like to hear a little bit more about? What's going on? As you can see in the background, we did get all of our shelving done and all our orders out, which was great because we had over, I think it was about 400 products worth of stuff that went out. 300 to one association, another 45 to another, and then it was another 16 to another client, and we just picked up 3 more orders today. So we're going to be doing a lot of other stuff. You're right. The chair is an older tool. And this chair was a find off of Facebook for free that now is just living outside. Ugh. So, I guess while I'm out here and while I'm waiting for some more comments to pop up from you guys, I'm going to go ahead and start going over how to, we'll call it, fix up, refurbish, get into working condition an older tool, especially when it's made out of cast iron. Now, it's really not that hard. It really just takes a lot of elbow grease as the wine bottle dog falls over. Let's make sure these legs pop all the way out, otherwise everything will fall off the table. There we go. And then move the kids' toys around that I never put away. That is the one thing that goes on all the time here. Sorry if you see my hand go up. It's trying to make sure that the thing's following me. It's always a struggle. Taking toys out, putting them back in. And if you are enjoying a tasty beverage, go ahead and drop what you're enjoying tonight. Throw it in the comments, and cheers to you all. All right. Now to talk about the radial arm saw, or we would call the obsolete machine, that I decided to pick up and bring to the house. All right, and we are back over here. So, as I said before, this is a Craftsman 10-inch radial arm saw. It is an older machine. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that bandsaw is an epic bandsaw. In fact, if you go watch Alex Snodgrass, he still has one and shows you a whole entire way to set it up, get it dialed in, working, the Carter stuff that helps it out. Great bandsaw. Cast iron top, that kind of weird metalish, plasticky feeling. That's metal sides. Let's see. Well, I guess it's, I don't know what it is. I hear you. It's funny because I've always wanted a radial arm saw, but I already have a compound one. This one came up on the perfect price, which I'll go over in a second, and so I ended up going with it. I think I actually made my father-in-law Tim a little jealous because he used to have a 12-inch one up at his house in Auburn when he was building his house, and then afterwards working on the house with some acreage, and he ended up selling it and getting rid of it. But I digress. So let's go ahead and talk about this guy. So this guy here, 10-inch radial arm saw. Some cool things about it that I found out. I actually picked it up from a person in the neighborhood. They're getting ready to move, and they were getting rid of it. And you would think, well, they probably sold it for like 25, 50 bucks, you know, try to make some money off it. Actually, no. And that's one of the things that you can do. Go around to these yard sales, check out, see what they got, see who's moving. Guarantee you will find some lucky finds there where it is free 99, because that's what I ended up picking this up for. The gentleman's name was Kevin. His wife's name, I believe, was Michelle or Amy. I'm so sorry if you end up watching this. I completely forgot your name. And they were actually moving out of the area. We're getting ready to start their family, and they just couldn't take it with them, so they just wanted to get rid of it. And talking to Kevin about it was actually quite nice, because what I found out is this radial arm saw was one of his first tools he actually was given by his dad. His dad bought this brand new from Sears back when he was 8 years old. So we're talking, this thing is at least 33 years old. And he has kept it as the owner since he moved out of the house and then took it with him when he was doing his stuff with his dad or his own shop work. and he has just taken, kept it, taking decent care of it. It's just got some signs of old age and some little bit of rust here and there. It just needs a nice cleaning and a little TLC. But he wanted it to go to someone that would actually use it. And when I hit him up and said, hey, I'm a woodworker in your neighborhood, I would love to take it off your hands. What are you trying to get rid of it for? He said, $3.99. And I said, well, that's a great price. I can't beat that. I'll gladly put the extra time and effort into cleaning it up for you. So, when cleaning these things up, now, we'll go to the cast iron table saw over here behind me. In fact, I'll stand this way so you can see it a little easier maybe. This is a lot easier to clean and kind of work on than this guy over here, because there's a lot of other things you're going to have to do with it. This guy right here, outside of maybe having to replace the router fence, which you could just completely remove and put a new one on, you could find a cast iron one that fits it, attach it. That would probably be my ultimate goal. The cast iron on this is really simple to clean up. And really any of the metals are if they get a little bit of rust, unless it's just too far gone with like steel where it's actually pitted through. And then you're looking at having to replace stuff. But I will show you what I have learned from different tips and tricks online. One, go to your big box store or maybe Amazon, depending on where you like to shop. That is totally your preference. And what you're going to pick up are these styled sanders right here. Now, they're typically used, I believe, for drywall and texturing. Also for metal work, for cleaning them up is the other thing. You could also use like 1,000 grit or like triple-aught steel wool, so the really fine stuff. And basically all you're going to end up doing is taking some type of oil, typically like a penetrating oil, like either 3M or some other brands out there, or even some WD-40. Now, people will dog WD-40. I've used it on so many things and never had a problem with it as long as you keep it nice and cleaned up, touched up every once in a while. It stands for water displacement for a reason, to help remove rust. Yes, Scotch-Brite, green. Exactly, I have those too. These guys just feel a little bit more aggressive, especially when you have a little more rust. So I bought these at Home Depot. They are basically came in 2-3 packs, one of each of these. There's a coarse, a medium, and a fine grit. And all you're going to end up doing is taking that oil, and for the cast iron top, all I did is kind of spread it on there liberally. Took a paper towel, wiped it on so I knew it was all over and into the spots I needed to get it into. Ah, brown, gotcha. And let it sit for 15 minutes to a half hour. That way that oil can penetrate in there, help kind of get that rust starting to get removed, loosened up. And then what you're going to do is come back, and what I would highly suggest doing is when you are actually going to be cleaning it or scrubbing it, try to go with, we'll call it the grain of the metal. If you look at cast iron, you'll see these little striations through it. Basically, that's a fancy word for lines. I don't use many fancy words because I speak English and bad English. But occasionally I'm known to know something more than 3 syllables. And go with it. Otherwise, you'll get some kind of cross-scratching on it. It really won't affect anything, and you can always buff it out later. But if you just like that look, that aesthetic of everything going in one direction, just follow it. And you're going to scrub it. And you're going to scrub it and scrub it and scrub it. And any of these places, and I'll bring you up close to kind of get a look at it. So if you look here, it's actually in pretty good shape. There was a little bit more rust and dots on it, but you see those little black spots? That is where rust was starting to form. And what I went and did is I scrubbed it out as best I could. And if you actually ran your fingernail over it when I first got it, you could actually feel a lifted up area where the rust was forming. And all I ended up doing, as I bring you back over here, is taking one of these pads and just really working on it with the rough one first. Just trying to get any remnants of corrosion, rust formation, any of that off. Take yourself a new paper towel, wipe it all clean, come back, use a little bit more 3M oil, maybe WD-40, and hit it with the medium grit. Rinse, wash, repeat, finish it up, add some more oil, and then hit it with the fine grit. Now, you can do this to whatever level you want, and in fact, a lot of people out there will talk about going to like 1,000 grit or 2,000 grit sandpaper if you really want to get it super smooth and get all those little, deformations or potential corrosion areas out of the way. But for my purposes, it was in pretty good shape, and that was enough for me. Now, the big thing with cast iron is once you've done that, you still have that oil sitting on there, and you really want to remove that because it's just going to attract more dust and other things on it that are going to cause it to get dirty, get gummed up, not let wood slide on it nice and easy. And the whole thing, if you're a woodworker, is you want that wood to be able to slide on it. For instance, we'll just take this little book here. Paper used to be wood. See how on this table that's melamine, it kind of barely slides? But if I put it over this cast iron, it'll slide all the way down almost. The way you get that is by waxing it. Now, unfortunately, everyone's favorite used to be, I believe it was the Minwax, or there was another brand. Now they're selling for like $200 a can because they stopped making it. But get yourself a nice paste wax, whether it's a Minwax, I don't know. I can't think of other brands right now. And what you're going to do is wax the tabletop. But before you wax it, you have to do one step because that oil hasn't been removed. You're going to take an acetone or a mineral spirit, and you're going to wipe all the areas that you just cleaned with that penetrating oil to help remove all that oil and get it as dry as can be into bare metal. Once it is fully dried, then you'll wax it. Apply the wax liberally, spread it out nice and smooth, let it dry, come back, buff it off, test it out with a piece of wood, and you'll see it is going to be probably as smooth as a baby's butt. So that is how you would clean the cast iron. Now on this guy over here, and we're just going to start kind of the beginning stages of it, we got a lot of dust on it, a lot of grime, and so what we're just going to do is take just a paper towel, and it's been sitting out here getting a little dew on it, which isn't the greatest for the rust elements, but we're just going to wipe it down. And in fact, because it's a little bit damp out here tonight, I'm going to take a little WD-40. Just give that rag a nice little spray down. Thank you. Is it MJ Jason? I really appreciate that. I will go and look that up. I have not heard of that before. I'm old school, just WD-40 or 3M oils. So I do appreciate that. I'll look that up. What they said is if you are looking for something, try CRC 336. It's going to prevent the direct water content and doesn't affect your wood finishes. I like that. That is a very good tip. So just sprayed some WD-40 on it. And as you can see, maybe you'll catch it in the light. You'll notice that even with that, it's helping bring up some of that surface layer rust and just get all that dust, dirt, and kind of grime stuck to this, and kind of just get it kind of started for our next processes. Now, radial arm saw, we're going to have a lot more work on this thing to do down the road. We're going to have to not only, clean it up, get as much of the rust out of it as we can, but this sacrificial board, or we'll call it they got another name for it, but basically it's a bottom board that is designed to be cut into, is going to need to be replaced. And there's just a couple bolts that hold it in place and screws holding this in place. So we'll end up going down to Hughes Hardwoods, my local hardware store. They actually get a lot of this stuff that they give out for free from their packing boxes. And if you have a hardwood store nearby, or even like a Home Depot, like I always talk about the purple painted wood, that's a great option to be able to use for this, is wood that isn't perfect, but it's flat, and you can use it, cut it out piece that's good out of it to use on something like this. So at the end of the day, we're going to end up replacing the spoil board. There's the word I was looking for, spoil board here. Adding a new back fence on it. We'll be cleaning up the whole frame. Probably leave it on it for now. Maybe we'll mount it on something different. The gentleman that I bought it from, again, like I was saying, and I didn't even finish my conversation on, this was a tool that he got when he was 8 years old. Him and his dad bought it from Sears, brand new, right from them. And the cool part about it is, he got to use it his entire life, and now he's finally getting rid of it. But he's been one owner. We'll call it two with his dad. But he's literally been able to just say, yeah, I've worked on it, I've used it, I've done my repairs on it, taken care of it how I can, and it still runs. In fact, I plugged it in, worked great, cut some 2x4s down, worked solid. The other kind of cool thing with that is the fact that knowing where your tool came from, and that's one of my big things if you're going to be looking for these older school tools like this and you're trying to find something that fits your shop, is if you're able to talk to the people and figure out where they got it from, that's a huge, huge important factor. Because let's say it was actually used in a woodworking shop, you might want to pass on that tool, even though it might be a good tool, because it was used a lot. But if it's been sitting in someone's garage, only used occasionally, that might be the tool that you were looking for that'll be the best option for you. So, like I said, the work we're going to end up having to do on this is get the spoil board off, get a new one on, get this thing all the way cleaned up, take some of the covers and gears apart, get them all re-oiled, all set up, so that way it's all nice and functioning well. Take a look at I believe this one is belt driven, maybe not. I think it is actually direct drive. Let me look. Yeah, it's direct drive. And in fact, I actually have some parts on the motor here that give me some model numbers and what kind of phase it is and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm just looking at it, trying to see if maybe there's something on here that says a date, but I'm not finding it currently of when it was manufactured. But it was made from, let's see here, Simpson Sears. So that was part of their, I think, Canada brand. But yeah, so really nice addition to be able to pick up for the shop, especially for that price of free, and giving it some more life before, it ever has to go to the county dump. We'll just put it that way. So, as I was recapping on this, is there something else there? I'm going to go ahead and pause you guys. I'm going to let you look over here at the tools because I did have let me try to get it to pause. There we go. Oh, message was retracted, so I guess they changed their mind. It's all right, grounding knowledge. I don't miss you on what you said, but there we go. This is going to be a good shop addition, and what we're going to end up doing is, because I have cleaned up a lot of room in the shop, and I don't want to lose too much by putting a new tool in, is there is a table back here and the laser engraver that need to be, we'll call it, moved to their new homes and locations. So this will actually live temporarily here in this big center space, and then down the road I'll move the things around and it'll live on the end of the table or the table saw, where it'll have a nice little spot. And if you're just joining us, welcome to OnlyGrains Late Night Edition. We are talking about old school tools and how, old doesn't mean dead, it just means experienced. So, like many things in life, the older, the better. So I'm actually going to take some of this 3M penetrating oil, put it on this guy here, just because this thing is so old. Give it a little squeeze up in this arm. A couple of little moving parts, just to see if I can get things to move a little more freely, and just give it a nice little wipe down. And as you can see, I mean, instantaneously, you're getting that brown reddish rust off of it already. So I just want to wipe it on there, let it penetrate. We'll come back with that Brillo pad, give it a nice scrub, and kind of go from there. Now, the one thing I will say, as I haven't really used anything with this in a long time, or done any research on it. I just picked it up for free. I am still going to have to pull out the manual on it. And tell you what, Google is a huge resource for that, for these old tools. If you're lucky enough, if you find the original owner, they might still have the old manuals for it. A lot of times they don't, but there are plenty of places online that you can find that still have these old manuals saved, downloadable, printable, all that kind of stuff. And you can put those to good use for your shop. I'm sure I'll be able to find this and get the manual printed out, saved, and be able to go through it and get everything figured out. I know that some of these dials and whatnot allow for the adjustment of it, beveling, mitering, height adjustment. I believe the height adjustment's back here, just by looking at this arm here and the slot. That also could just be the way the motor goes in here, and it could do all the adjustments up there. I don't know. If you're watching and you've actually got experience with this saw, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Let me know what you know about radial arm saws, especially these older Craftsmans. And if you have a drink, go ahead and take a drink with me. But point being is, we're going to take care of this thing. We're going to get it all set up, reworking again to its best condition, or as close to new condition as we can, and it will be into the shop. So if you're watching and following along and wish to drop a comment in there, a question, please do so. This is a community-driven page as much as I can be. Want to be a community of woodworkers or people that are just watching for entertainment, trying to learn something new, because I feel like you should learn something new every day. And also, if you can, hit that like, subscribe button. Like I said, we're trying to hit 500 followers by the end of the year, 1st of 2026, and we are doing quite well on reaching that goal. We're already at 274, I believe, and let's see if we can maybe get it closer to 300 tonight. Now, I will probably end up removing, there's a cover here that's just covered in rust. It's an old steel kind of power outlet cover, but maybe we'll try to clean it up and see what we can do with it. Like I said, that's just the test of time, a bunch of years sitting in the garage also being used. Thank you, DJ4. I really do appreciate it. All right, so as I was saying, the pads. What I'm going to do, I just let that oil sit in here, not as long as I'd like to. I'd like to set it for another 15 to 30 minutes, but since you guys are all watching and I kind of want to show you how to do this, you saw me put the 3M oil on, rub it in with the paper towel. I'm just going to take this kind of Brillish pad, and I'm actually going to go up and down, because that is the way, at least looking at the slot, it would be designed to move. Now, it probably doesn't matter. I could probably go around it, and it would be a lot easier just to go this way. In fact, it's a lot easier, so I'll just do that. But this is where a nice sandpaper strip of like 500 grit could come in handy, or even a lower grit if you really needed it to get some of that rust out of the way. And just really kind of start working on it. All right, let's go ahead and pull a paper towel off. And if you look, if you've just been following, you are actually starting to see under that rusty color, now we're starting to get some gray and some actual natural metal tones. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this with some more 3M. Wipe it on again. Let it sit for a second. And hit it with the next pad. And I'll probably come back and do this again when I have a little more time. But this is just kind of how you can clean these things up really nicely. And as you can see here, this rolls on metal bearings, or I should say little, almost like railroad car wheels. So when I push it, there's some decent resistance there. So what I'm going to do is actually clean these up and get them greased up. One, to help clean them up, but two, to also help with that movement. And that's kind of the nice thing, is since they're not plastic or rubber and it's just metal on metal, it is going to be a little rougher, it's going to be a little louder, but you're going to be able to do a lot more cleaning on it and not have to worry about replacing the rubber, or, you know, depending on what kind of oil you're using or solution you're using, damaging rubber pads. So let's just go ahead and get this whole thing down to the end with some of that oil. Do it on the other side. Slide this guy back. Do it on the front. And I mean, just a quick few seconds. That's how much I was able to take off of it already. And we're just going to let it sit, and then we'll come back over with the Brillo pad and start going through. In fact, we'll start with the green guy this time. So, like I said, any of these heavy metal spots, anything that doesn't have paint or like this kind of black, you know, anodized part on it, I wouldn't use this on that because you'll scrub those numbers off. But you can come on this. Giggity. I was trying to decide if I want to make that joke or not. And just give it a nice scrub down. Get as much of that old grime and gunk and rust and corrosion, getting it off like a Friday night. And then just come back with a paper towel and wipe it away. Move on to the next one. Part of that's just because of all the oil I put on there, but also I'm just getting this grime off. In fact, I'm going to try to give you guys a close-up just to kind of see what I'm taking off. So if you see right in here, see all those little dark spots and lines and whatnot? That's where all that corrosion's starting. And if I come back with this Brillo pad, I'm going to see if I can get a good spot of it. Just with, let me get this back into working. Just with a little bit of elbow grease. So that's why I'm saying, go out there, look and see what you can find that's out there. You will be surprised what you can kind of revive and restore and use in your shop or for your DIY projects. All right. Now that we've gone ahead and got as much of that down as we can, we're going to wipe it off. I'm just going to throw a little WD-40 on it because this wasn't as bad as the other one. And probably what I'd really like to use on this would be some maybe heavier duty grease. But again, when you're doing woodworking, one of the things I'll talk about, and really Alex Snodgrass talks about this with the bandsaws, is a lot of times in certain areas you don't want to use grease or oil. You want to use waxes because they're going to let the wood dust slide off, not stick up and accumulate, where it's going to get all bound up and cause it for potential for grinding or clogging and grittiness, where it's going to not want to move on you. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a little spray with the old WD-40 because that's my favorite stuff to use. And give these guys a little spray because these ball bearings in there probably haven't been greased in a while. Now let's just see how it does. And as you can see, you know, it's hitting the backstop here, but it's already moving much smoother. Oop. Sorry, the camera went away. I moved too fast for the camera. Let's see. Ah. There, let me reposition you guys. Sometimes the camera gets a little wonky on me. All right, there we go. So as I was saying, much smoother operation. Let me go ahead and give that a little hit over to the side. Okay, let's go ahead and, there we go. Is it following? Yes, it is. Let's go ahead and get back over to this medium grit pad. And let's work on this area right here again. Man, this camera just is lagging behind. Sorry, guys. I really do appreciate it. Or really apologize. And I appreciate you guys watching and putting up with this. This is something I'm still learning to do when it comes to doing lives. So, as I said, this area right here is what we were working on cleaning next. And if you look, you can see how the rust is in there and it's kind of corroded up. So what we're going to go ahead and do, I already let it hit with some 3M oil for a little bit. I'm going to change my tactics. I am going to go sideways and just clean this up just because it is easier. And if you're just joining or been watching for a minute and you get a chance, please go ahead and drop something in the comments, whether it's a question, comment, rude remark, all are appreciated. This is a community page, like I've said before. We are here to talk and just have a good time. If it looks like I'm familiar to doing this, that's because this is very familiar. It's like a tuna can. Though I'm not so good with my right hand. I'll let you wonder why. All right, we're going to go ahead and hit it with some of the WD-40. Oop. Man, this camera is just not wanting to cooperate tonight. In fact, I am going to just lock it back in over here. Sorry about that, guys. Really do apologize for that. Now, if you look, the area I was just working on, you can see just with that little bit of work, it's already started to shine up a little bit. So I just hit some WD-40 on this just to help remove it. And look at that. You're now starting to see metal again. And that's all it took. We've been doing this for stop following me. We're going to go from the following mode because apparently it does not like that tonight. Let me just get you back over to... Look at that. You can actually see the metal again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit it with the 3M oil one more time, the penetrating oil. And we're going to do it with the final grit and just see what it's at. Eventually, I'm going to figure out how to raise and lower it fully. That way I can get the whole thing cleaned out. But we're just going to, for now, give it a little lubrication, a little penetrating lubrication. Back from my police days, penetration, however slight. That was meant for you. Cop joke. And if anyone else gets it, go ahead and drop it in the comments. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and just let that sit there and soak for a minute. And while it soaks, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. And we will move on to a different part. In fact, we're going to move on to the motor and just kind of wiping that down and getting it all set up for later. And what you can see on that, we do have some kind of paint wear and tear, probably from hands being on it, and grease and whatnot. We do have an adjustment knob here that is pretty well tightened up. Throw some WD-40 on that. As I said, I'm still trying to figure this thing out. Some of it's by trial and error. So we'll throw some on there. Ah, there we go. locks it. That unlocks the motor here. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of learning on this guy, I think. But we're just going to get it all cleaned up nicely right now. Wipe down as best we can. Now on the top here, because it is painted, I probably won't be scrubbing it with the Brillo pads as of now. I don't want to take any of that extra paint off and, you know, expose more metal to the potentials of rust. But what I will do is take some of this penetrating oil and throw it up here. Just to help get that started to be removed and loosened up. A lot of elbow grease with some rags and paper towels probably do a lot of good work on it and get most of it out. It'll probably remove some of the paint, but honestly, I'm not too worried if I remove some of the paint, just for the fact that it is older and let's face it, it just needs to be cleaned up. All right, let's go ahead and move back to the actual support structure here, where we were starting to clean up. And as you can see, we are actually starting to see metal again. So we're doing a good job on it. And if you just joined us, I see we're up to about 40 people following. If you get a chance, drop a comment in there asking what's going on, questions, anything like that. Also, if you do get a chance, please hit that like or subscribe button. We are on our road to 300 followers. We're trying to hit 500 by the end of the year. It would be much appreciated. But I'm going to go ahead and start doing what I know best. All right, we're now to the fine. Here's that fine one. And we're just going to start polishing this pole. And we're going to beat me to the comment. That was a perfect Giggity's time. Guess there's not many Family Guy fans out there anymore. Quagmire. As you can see, if you look, you might be able to see it. As I'm working in this lower part, it is just shining it right up. And if we can't get it all the way shiny, that's fine. As long as we get most of the corrosion and rust out of the way, so it's not getting any more damage, and we're stopping it with the WD-40 and the penetrating oil, getting all that rust and water out of it. That's really the main goal here. Okay. I think that's good for now. Put all my Brillo pads away. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is hit some WD-40 on a paper towel. And let's see how shiny it can get. So as you can see now, right here, where it used to be a brownish red, now it's actually silver again. We got some brown red up at the top and the bottom. That's just because we can't quite reach in there as easily. But we're making progress on it. It's getting cleaned up. You know, this is just going to be a big process. It's going to be a, you know, couple days, couple nights worth of scrubbing it down, hitting it with different solvents, penetrating oils, getting all that rust out. And then eventually also, as I back up, another big thing is going to be removing the spoil board, putting a new spoil board in, putting a new fence backstop in, something a little more accurate, but moving it over to a different location in the shop. Right now it's just going to get rolled into probably like right over in here, and it'll sit there for a couple days or a week, and we'll start moving things around. So anyways, let me go ahead and take you out of the holder here. Kind of give you guys just a quick tour on the shop and what's going on and where things are going to kind of get laid out. So, as you have already seen, this is the new addition to the shop, new to me, but not new in age. This is that radial arm saw. and it is going to be living in the shop and being helped or used to help batch out different projects, including charcuterie boards, cutting boards, urns, things of that nature. And then to go with it, we have the table saw. And this is the new table saw to me, but older again. And this is what this tonight's video is about. You know, old tools still have a place and purpose. Don't get rid of them because they're actually quite useful and typically built stronger than some of the newer tools. And in fact, I'm going to go over something here with you before, because I just started thinking about this. So this is an older model, right? If you didn't catch the earlier part of this, this is like a 2004. It's about 21 years old. It could drink. Speaking of, if you're watching and you got a drink available, go ahead and take a drink. So, kind of cool innovations that this has. See this right here? It's actually called an Aligna cut, and I had to look it up and figure out what it does. This was actually a piece of plastic or Teflon that they added in here. Sorry. Gutter mind. It is designed for you to be able to take a square and line it up with your blade on both sides and draw a line down so you know before you hit the blade where the blade's going to cut exactly for your marks. Additionally, probably one of the biggest things that I like about this is if you look at the miter for this, it is beefy. It is all metal. The only parts that are plastic are this handle right here, this knob right here, and here, and here. Everything else is pretty much metal. You know, just the only plastic parts are anything that your hand's touching or the wood's touching. But it's got a big fence. It's got T-slots so you can actually add attachments to it. Slides nicely in it, but it's a way better upgrade than what you see in most of the new saws. But just old tool with cool innovations already built into it. Now, going into the shop, as I was saying. So we do have a lot of work still to be done, and I will go over kind of all the different things that we have adjusted in the shop so far. So first and foremost, this is the area that is kind of the work in progress. We have moved the 10-inch with the witch drill press into a new location, and this is where it's going to be living. And what we're going to do is clean up all of this area here so that this area right in here turns into our epoxy station. So that way we can actually start using this leveling board here, this epoxy mold here, and a few other things. And that's going to be kind of our epoxy station, little kind of odds and ends, painting, coloring, taping, things like that. Moving along. What we have here is our new shelving that we put in over the last week. So very easy to build, made out of 2x4s. You basically do a backboard called a ledger board, and I'll show you one of those on another one that's not so cluttered. And you just use your 2x4s to basically build out a frame and then throw some sheet good on it, whether it's ply, MDF, melamine, whatever you can find, whatever fits the budget for you guys. That's what you're going to go with. And that has allowed me to do all my storage of all my nuts, bolts, screws, additional wood up top, and a cabinet below to hold all my other tools and stuff. So we've actually got some organization going on here, and this is one of the things I will say. If you're looking for organization for your garage and you don't want to build something like this, go and find a yard sale. Maybe if someone's giving away free, find some old dressers. They work great. And this is an old repurposed dresser that came from my father-in-law and mother-in-law. And I've actually repurposed it to now hold, you know, different sanding materials. These are all hand sanding materials here. More hand sanding materials. All my chisels, punches. Anything for accuracy, squares, setup blocks, Allen wrenches, little hand tools, things of that nature. Makes it really nice and easy and available to find when you're working out in the shop. We do have some calendars that we got off of Amazon. But the big thing over here is the new shelving that we put up here. So we got some random storage up top, but now I was able to move all my glues, finishes, waxes, paints, what you name it, up onto this. And then this area over here is now our workstation for where orders are going to go and materials are going to go when they're being purchased and, you know, prepared and ready to go out to the customer. We then added another shelf up here for random odds and ends, but this is kind of where the big part of everything's going to go, and that is this shelving unit right here. And this was the original one I built when we moved in the house. Probably I think it was after a year or two moving in the house. And what we're going to end up doing is, if you can see the two screws right here and here, as my finger changes the zoom function, we're going to actually cut just to the left of them, because that's where a 2x4 is, and remove the shelf from there all the way to here and raise it up about 10 inches, and then put a new ledger board in, screw it in nice and tight, and that is actually going to be a shelf for all those flat goods that you already see on it, so that the X tool right over here sorry. There we go. That X tool right here can actually come down here and have plenty of room for the top to flip up and down, fit items in, and that will free up this table, because the laptop will go next to it just like it is currently set up. And this table will be able to get rid of the table over here, which is kind of my processing and random odds and ends table, will go where the other table is. The big table over here with the jackets will slide down, and everything will kind of get shifted and more compacted so that we can have a smaller footprint. But that'll allow that radial arm saw to actually go either next to the table saw, kind of where that DeWalt yellow router is, or somewhere in there. And as we move over here, we have another tool that you can find. And if you can find one of these, this is a really cool tool. My father-in-law has one. It's a Craftsman rotary bench. And basically it allows for 3 tools to be mounted to it, and then it just spins around as long as there's enough clearance. Otherwise, you just put the highest one on one in the center and tip it to the right or tip it to the left. But this thing's great. I actually have my Win 12-inch planer, my sander, and I'll come from the other side and you'll see that I have a 12-inch joiner from CutTech. And also, if you are looking for a joiner, go check out my review of the CutTech joiner. It is an amazing tool. The company is great. They make lots of different tools, including ShopFox, Wen, a couple other ones, and they're actually the manufacturer's brand, so you typically get a few new odds and ends added into it that don't come with those other ones. So that is how the shop layout's gonna be. Oh, there we go. I'm trying to figure out how to control this thing still. And there's the bandsaw that we're gonna work on next too. We're gonna add the new rubber wheels onto it, or the polyurethane wheels. That way it runs a little smoother, a little quieter, a little more accurate. Get that all dialed in, because we're going to start resawing some of the woods for some of the projects, and also doing cutouts for different types of charcuterie boards, wine rack holders, things like that, and then kind of moving from there. So definitely a work in progress. As you can see, we got a lot going on. It's definitely getting better every day. Sorry, as I crazily move this around. But yeah, the big next thing is getting this guy all dialed in. And tomorrow, hopefully what we're going to be doing is actually working on this guy, getting the real first cuts into it, and starting to work on 2 urns for pets, 2 dog urns that were placed as an order, and really getting this guy dialed in. In fact, I sat down and dialed in the tabletop to the blade, so the miter, this is the miter, that's the blade. You want them in parallel with each other. We're within like 1/1000th of an inch to 2/1000ths of an inch, depending on which blade tooth you go to. So we're really, really super accurate with it now. The fence, which is that Beesmere fence, it is a great fence. Got it all set up. It's within like 1/1000th to 2/1000 inches also. Maybe I'll show you guys a video of that later with the accuracy. But we should be really good on sitting nice straight cuts, getting things nice and square, and being able to make some jigs and whatnot to be able to produce some of the goods that we're working on trying to do a lot faster and more accurately. So that is the additions to the shop. I'm going to go ahead and put you back on the stand and give you guys something that I haven't had to do in a long time, and I'm appreciative of being on the stand. I'm going to go ahead and put you back on the stand, let you watch me putting it away, and give you guys kind of a final chance to ask any questions, make any comments, throw something in the comment section if you get a chance. And like I said, if you're new following right now, we are trying to work to our goal of 500 followers. If you could, please hit that subscribe button, like, and notify. I do have a bunch more content coming out in the next few days. Tomorrow I will be dropping my third part of the table saw informational videos going over the 5 categories of table saws, and we'll be releasing one on Wednesday and on Sunday to finish it with the cabinet saws. And then I also have some DIY videos and tutorial videos when it comes to the laser engraver are going to be released here in the next week or two, as well as reviews of these older tools like the Professional Craftsman baby cabinet saw, hybrid saw, the 12-inch band saw, the Wen planer, this radial arm saw, and some other DIY hacks for you guys. So here's your chance. If you get a chance, if you're not watching on the TV, or if you are on the TV and you feel like clicking a lot of buttons, please just throw a comment or a question in there. It would be much appreciated. All right. Well, with that being said, thank you all that joined tonight. I do appreciate you guys hopping on late night with me. And hopefully I will see you on another night of OnlyGrains down the road. And you all stay safe. Have a great day.